Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. Your likes will be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for that. But over to the point. I had a subscriber link me on the Facebook fan page some of Nick Best's lifting. He's like, Jason, why don't you ever talk about Nick Best? Right? Why aren't you talking about what he's doing? You promote a lot of telling guys that as they reach middle age, they can train heavy, they can make progress, they should be able to be beasts. And I agree with that. And I talk a lot about we need to avoid injuries, we need to be making progress. That I don't think it's unreasonable for guys in our 40s to squat 500 plus pounds. I do. I do. And I have not had a history of perfect health. I have suffered debilitating medical issues. Literally spent 10 months in bed in my early 30s. Right? I had to learn to walk again. I've gone on and done that. And I don't think that I am particularly special. I think other people out there are capable of doing the same things. Right? I think that. You take someone like Nick Best, and he kind of takes what I've been talking about 10 levels higher. Right? He's not just one level up above what I do or what other people are doing in this age bracket. Guy is 51 years old. I think he's 51 now. And even in a competition at age 50, he walked in, squatted over 800. Now, granted, it was with wraps, but you know when you're 51 and 800 plus pound squat with wraps, we'll call it 800, right? Even if it was only 750 raw, that's ludicrous. Ludicrous. Hit over a 500 bench, over 800-pound deadlift at age 50. I want people to put that in perspective. Now, granted, I know he's a tall, big guy with a bigger frame. And taller guys will always be stronger. A guy who's 6'5", has 20 times higher chance of getting an 800-pound deadlift than most of you do. We know this already. It's understood. Because size equals strength, and that includes frame size, right? Because you're going to get more muscle. But that's really besides the point. The point is that he is lifting these sort of poundages without being completely destroyed. Now, he's had his own issues, but he's still capable of doing it. And that's the thing that people point out. Usually the shorter guys have better longevity. The really tall guys are the ones that struggle with the most longevity because they're bigger, they can be a lot stronger. Their bodies get beat up more because they're going to lift heavier. Yet this guy is still pulling this off. And I think what we need to look at that is for inspiration. I'm not saying that people should say, oh, well, I'm going to emulate everything that he does. Well, no, of course not. Because obviously him having done strongman and elite powerlifting and this stuff, maybe not every aspect of his lifestyle is the healthiest. And you shouldn't emulate every part of that. And I'll agree with that. But it's important to step back and say he is displaying that a person can get into their 50s and still be ludicrously strong. Because the guy's lifts aren't good for a 50-year-old. His lifts are elite, ultra elite, for any age. Hey, the guy's got lifts in his 50s that 99% of even taller lifters who are giving it 100% have no chance of ever hitting in their entire life. It's just not going to happen. Yet here he is, and he's able to still do it. And I think what it shows here is that we have to look at our longevity in training. Okay, and people need to understand that when you learn your body, you learn to pay attention to things. You learn good programming. You learn how to build around your weak points. You can build and maintain amazing levels of strength and performance as you get older. And the reason I talk about this a lot, and again, other people chime in who do understand, and all the younger kids don't understand, they come to the channels like this, like, well, I don't think you're that impressive. And they're like, dude, he's as old as your dad. What does your dad do? Okay. And that's what people need to remember when we're looking at these things. The majority of guys who used to lift aren't lifting anymore by 40. They're falling apart, let alone by 50. Because I know these guys that I went to high school with who used to lift, bro, who used to be in shape, they're falling apart. They're having a hip replacement. They're having their second bypass surgery. You can't tell that they ever lifted at any point in their life. And I know guys who I knew back in my early 20s, I see them out there now, who, were in phenomenal shape. A lot of you guys were like, oh, I look good, now I'm doing good. If you don't understand and maintain the longevity, you're going to be just like these guys who I know, who I used to know, who you can never tell that they ever lifted. They're just as bad as the average overweight American. They're fat, they're broken, they're sick, and they don't train anymore. And you've got to look to your longevity and training. And so what I would say to people, if you're looking at this stuff, yes, I'm going to have info on this. You guys can watch a lot of what I do. But maybe it would be a good idea to look into what guys like Nick Best are doing. Because whatever he is doing is obviously working. And no, it's not just drugs, guys. You don't deadlift 800 pounds, still be able to deadlift 800 pounds in your 50s, and be able to pull that lift without ripping your body apart just because you did a bunch of drugs, bro. Okay, doesn't work that way. He's obviously doing something right. And I think a lot of it has to do with pushing our limits while understanding fatigue management, understanding muscle balance, paying attention to certain aspects of our technique, right? Protecting our low backs, doing stuff like building hamstrings, building rear delts, things like this so that we don't get hurt when we're lifting. Paying attention to which lifts cause shoulder health issues or not. Paying attention to shoulder impingement. And a lot of these things, by the way, your little small bodybuilding exercises cause just as many of these problems as big lifts do. In some cases more. So I want people to understand that just because you train on a machine or with cables, it doesn't mean you're not going to impinge your shoulder or get tendonitis or any of these other issues. That actually, it's not true. A lot of those lifts are also not particularly good. And particularly when it comes to longevity. So it's understanding these things and looking at these things. And this guy, to me, it's phenomenal. I wouldn't even realize he was still that strong until someone sent it to me and I went and looked. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I knew the guy was out there still killing it, but I didn't know he was past 50, benching 511 in a meet. Okay? I wasn't aware he was doing stuff like that. So I'm actually pretty shocked. And I would say, yeah, we need to look at this. Whatever he is doing is working. This is an example that we can use for inspiration. Because again, we don't necessarily try to emulate him and do everything that he does, but we can look to that for inspiration and say, okay, so if this guy can pull 800 still in his 50s, a lot of you guys out there should be able to go, well, I can probably build myself up and safely pull 500 in my 40s or 50s, right? You guys can do that. You can do that. Because anyone with decent health can pull 500. And 500 is not that hard to get to. You can get to 500. You can maintain a 500 when you're 50. You might not hit his 800 plus. We can do 500. And that's my point when we look at stuff like this. We don't always need to take everyone and say, well, I'm going to achieve what they do. But if they can reach this level, maybe I can at least be here. Use that as inspiration to say, well, if they can do that, I should at least be able to do this. And use them as inspiration. And maybe look into what they do. Look into what I do. Look into what different people do. Who are still able to be strong and powerful and have a lot of muscle and be able to move big weights without falling apart. Because there's methodology to it. And the majority of guys are. A lot of my contemporaries out there, they are falling apart. We've heard certain people like Jerry Ward say you can't lift heavy past 40. Okay? Obviously not true. He just doesn't know how to train. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.